who rushed to assist, from the local communities to the state and federal. The response from the public agencies across the state was immediate, coordinated, and extraordinary, and we really can't thank them enough. In the face of what chaos and danger, they acted with professionalism, courage, and care. Their actions helped protect lives and restore order during the incredibly difficult situation. We also want to recognize the remarkable bravery of the Good Samaritans who stepped in without hesitation, placing themselves in harm's way to stop that shooter. Their courage undoubtedly prevented further loss and injury, and we thank them for that. We are equally grateful for the health professionals who were there, present at the game, and rendered aid to the victims. Their skill, composure, and selflessness represents the very best of humanity, and they are true heroes. While this incident was deeply affected the city, we must acknowledge the difficult realities. This tragedy is part of a broader national crisis of gun violence and stark reminder of devastating consequences of domestic violence. We also understand the events like this can be deeply triggering, particularly for the survivors and the families impacted by violence. If you are struggling, please seek the help and support you need, and the governor will be talking a little bit about that. We recognize that the emotional impact of this event will not fade away overnight, and grief, fear, and confusion and trauma are real and they are lasting. Mental health support services are available, and we encourage everyone and anyone that needs them, that are affected directly or indirectly, please reach out. No one should feel that they must navigate this alone. Our city remains committed to clear communication, to supporting those impacted, and working closely with all of the law enforcement partners as the investigating communities continue to investigate. Pawtucket is a very strong and resilient community. We will learn from one another. We will support one another, and together we will get through this. I now would like to take a minute and turn it over to the chief, who will give you a brief update as to where the investigation stands.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you again for coming. I know this is our third update since yesterday within a 24-hour period. What I can tell you again from yesterday is about 2:30 yesterday afternoon, Pawtucket Police received a call for an active shooter at Dennis Lynch Arena. Once we received that call, the police responded within 60 to 90 seconds. What we learned was that there was an individual suspect inside Lynch Arena that had fired upon family members. What I can confirm now is that the suspect was Robert Dorgan. His date of birth is July 15th of 1969. One of the victims was his ex-wife, Rhonda Dorgan, and also his son, adult son, Aiden Dorgan. Rhonda succumbed to her injuries on scene at Lynch Arena, and the son, Aiden, succumbed to his injuries after being transported to the hospital. We have three other individuals, Linda Dorgan and Gerald Dorgan, which are the parents of Rhonda. They are at the hospital now. They are in critical care, and we continue to receive updates about their status. The final victim was Thomas Geruso. He is a family friend of the family, and he is also in critical care at the hospital, and we continue to monitor his progress. What I can tell you is that they were all at the event for a son, a juvenile son who was playing hockey. It was their senior night, and there was no expectations or any indication that there was going to be any type of violence yesterday at the arena. I can tell you that individuals on site, several bystanders, I would say that probably whether they have been family or friends of the individuals playing hockey, stepped in, they intervened, and at least 3 bystanders were able to circum the suspect. At that time, the suspect did reach for a second firearm, and he did inflict a self-inflicted gunshot wound, which is what he succumbed to on scene. I can tell you that there were first responders on scene outside of Pawtucket, several nurses, several firefighters, and they also rendered aid to the victims until fire personnel responded. Once police responded, obviously we were met with a tremendous amount of people exiting the arena. We were able to make entry, and we also rendered aid to those individuals until they could be transported to the hospital. Central Falls Rescue and Pawtucket Rescue responded, and they also rendered aid. What I can tell you from what we've learned so far is that this individual had responded to hockey games in the past to watch their son play hockey, and that this was not unusual for them to respond to watch a hockey game. Again, there was no indication from the family or friends that any violence was underway or that they were in fear of this specific individual. What I would like to say is obviously the investigation is ongoing. We continue to look into maybe what the motivation was. We're not sure at this point what the trigger event was that happened yesterday. We are conducting several search warrants at this time, looking for additional information. We have reviewed several videos, both internally because it was a sporting event. So Live Bond was streaming that event for the families. We have also witnessed and we've combed through videos of parents that were videoing their individual children playing the game, which of that they love. So we have been kind of streaming through that to make sure that we're getting a clear picture of what happened. We ask that any video that may not have been forwarded to us is forwarded to the police department. We also ask that information that's coming out only come out through obviously the Pawtucket Police Department in the city of Pawtucket. We will be the ones that are pushing out the facts to you. So if you have questions, again, we ask that you reach out to us specifically and not to rely on social media posts. Those posts that are be putting out there are not necessarily accurate and they're trying to spin a story in a different way. So we ask that you rely on the information that we're giving you. What I also can tell you is, again, we worked with several community events. We've worked with our local partners, our state partners, our federal partners. There was a lot of outside help that showed up on the scene. I can tell you right now, we have individuals working in another state with the FBI trying to assist Pawtucket in search warrants that we have ongoing right now. As for any further updates, as we get additional information, as things come about, if we get any more videos or things that we can comb over, we were going to push out that information just like we did yesterday. As we get more information, we would like to share it with you. And then that way, you know, you have the story as it's unfolding. Again, what I can say is the suspect did succumb to their injuries yesterday. Our hearts go out to the families that were affected. Obviously, the children that were on the ice. This was supposed to be a joyous event for them. It was their senior night at a hockey game, a normal high school game that should have gone on without any type of violence, whether it be inside the rink or outside the rink. So again, we ask that you respect the privacy of those families and just give them some time to grieve. This was a tragic incident that obviously resulted in a domestic violence incident that, you know, is unfathomable that had that happen in our city. So again, we ask that you respect some of the family members. And again, this was one large family that was affected. I'm going to turn it over to the governor. And then at the end, if you have some questions, we'll let you ask them at that point. Governor.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief. It's another sad day in Rhode Island. Here in Pawtucket, just imagine we all have families. To have virtually a complete family shot and several killed, I just can't imagine what those families are going through and the people who are close to them. So our thoughts are with them, and also our thoughts are with the city of Pawtucket, Mayor Grebian and the chief. Thank you and your whole team for the response that you've had. And our role is to continue to provide the state resources as people recover wherever they need them. So here in Pawtucket, as always, Mayor, I stand here with Pawtucket and make sure that we reaffirm that commitment here, but also throughout the state of Rhode Island. This is an impact that's going to have a ripple effect throughout the state on many levels, whether it's just in families and friends, or it's in the communities that are represented in that rink, whether it's in the interscholastic sports territory, or whether it's in the schools that have been impacted. This is an event where we need to catch our breath, but also we need to respond, and we will. Too many Rhode Islanders know what it feels like to lose a loved one, or a neighbor, or a friend to gun violence. And too many have experienced the tragedy of domestic violence. we've made efforts in that area. We're going to double down in that area. That's a really important thing that we are going to move forward on to make sure that this domestic violence issue is one that we focus on as a state. Many members of our community are struggling right now, and I want them to know that our state is here to support each and every one of them. Director Mark Pappas is here today. I've instructed Mark to coordinate all the statewide efforts with all the different providers, all the different departments, whether it's at RIDE or whether it's in our health department. Mark will continue to organize that and make sure that we're deploying all those assets in a way that families and students and everyone that's impacted by this event will receive the help that they need. Today, we put forward a dedicated statewide virtual support hub that you'll have that information on for anyone who needs any help, whether it's mental health services, domestic violence, resources, guidance on how to talk with the students or children in all the communities. Yesterday, I spoke to each and every municipal leader that had representation at the rink, whether it's in North Smithfield with Scott or whether it's in East Providence, Coventry, Johnston with Mayor Policina. Mayor Rivera, talked to her. First responders came in from Central Falls, as the mayor said. This is a ripple effect that's going to impact families all around the state of Rhode Island, North Providence included in particular. So we're going to stand with the people in the state, and we're going to provide the resources in a difficult time, but that's our job, is to make sure that we're doing that, and we will. People who need help, they can go to governor.ri.gov/support hub. That's governor.ri.gov/support hub. They can see all the resources that'll be available to them, and we'll continue to be on the ground, making sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that we respond in a compassionate and thoughtful way. With that, I'll let Commissioner Infante Green come up and speak about the issues that are impacting the LEAs, all the education, all the students in the state.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Mayor, for all the work. My heart is with the family and students who were impacted directly or indirectly by the shooting at the arena yesterday. Rhode Island is such a small state that the impact of this violence is being felt by all of us, especially students across our state. School and sporting events should be a safe place, a place of joy, a place of unity. Because we're so small, we know someone that was impacted by this tragedy, either directly through that person or somebody that was a spectator, but this has impacted our entire state. The unity that we saw when spectators came to support is the unity that we have in Rhode Island, especially at our sporting events. We are one. So we want to thank them, and we want to continue to move as a community. So I say to the students and the families that are listening, we are here. We're here to support you. You're not alone. Just because schools are closed this week, we are working, all of government is working to support you. There's a community of people here for you. If you need help during this hard time, and any of you that have seen the video, just by watching what happened, raises our anxiety. Ask for help. If you need immediate help, please contact 988, the Suicide and Crisis Line. You don't have to wait to go back to school. The Rhode Island Department of Education will have resources on the website. We will also be linking to the governor's website, but there will be supports on how to talk to your students, how to have conversations from students to students, what the teachers can do in preparation for school to return and for the schools that are currently open this week. There will also be other opportunities throughout the state to come together to have conversations. This is our second event in Rhode Island, and we have to make sure that our community feels the state coming together to wrap around services and support. And that's what we're here to do. Estudiantes y familias, hoy estamos hablando con ustedes. No están solo. quiero que sepan que nosotros tenemos recursos. La oficina del gobernador tiene una página donde van a ver todos los recursos que están disponibles para ustedes. El Departamento de Educación tiene recursos de cómo hablar con sus niños, cómo hablar ustedes entre comunidades y por favor, si ustedes están sintiendo dificultad, llamen al 988, prevención y suicidio y crisis. Ese es el número que ustedes tienen disponible. No tienen que esperar que las escuelas abran otra vez. Es muy importante que ustedes tengan los servicios necesarios. In addition to all the local resources that will be available on the website, RIDE has also collaborated with our partners at Hazel Health to provide virtual healthcare services to all students in Rhode Island. All Hazel visits are online and students can connect from wherever they are, and they're available in 25 languages. Estamos aquí con esta tragedia. Nosotros tenemos una colaboración con los servicios de Hazel Health para ofrecerles servicios médicos virtual a todos los estudiantes de Rhode Island. Donde quiera que estén, pueden adquirir estos recursos y en cualquier lugar. Visit hazel.co to get started. Visiten a hazel.co para empezar. RIDE will be collaborating with school districts, offering supports as well as resources. We will be updating our website with additional resources for students, families, and the community at large. I want to thank all of you for the support. We have gotten an enormous amount of outpouring. I've also like to thank our other colleagues from other states that have also given us national resources. Our schools are going to need that. Our superintendents, our principals, our teachers are going to need this support. With that, I'd like to turn to the superintendent of schools here in Pawtucket, Randy Buck, who will continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, all. Like so many across our city, the Pawtucket School Department is deeply heartbroken by this tragic act of violence that has shaken our entire community here in Pawtucket. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims, their families, and particularly those who are grieving this evening. This tragedy, as you know, also has touched the Pawtucket school community as members of our own staff were personally impacted. We are surrounding them with care, compassion, and the full support of our district. We're coordinating a comprehensive response for both staff and students, including access to social workers, mental health professionals, and employee assistance services this week and when students return from the break next week. In moments like these, Pawtucket comes together. We stand united in compassion, in healing, and in a shared commitment to care for one another. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to the chief for any questions.
We just asked you, you said that the suspect's name was Robert Dorgan. The last thing you said, his name is Roberta Esposito. So what is his legal name? And do you know if he came to the arena yesterday? Obviously he was armed. So was he coming there to kill, or was he coming there to just watch the game and something?
So that was multi-part. So let me answer the first one. So legally, the name is Robert Dorgan. That's what we have on identification. We've also learned that the suspect does use the name Roberta Dorgan, and also Esposito. Again, we don't have a motive as to why the shooting happened yesterday. We can tell you that he did have 2 firearms on him. He was seen entering the building. He was seen leaving the building and then re-entering. We're not sure if he had them on him in the initial entry or not when the second time he went in. We're not sure about that.
Chief, was there a confrontation between the shooter and the family before the shots?
There was not.
Was there any conversation between them beforehand?
So
Whether that was in person or through messaging before the game? Was there any?
So what I can say about any conversations with the family, again, is that the family there that was sitting on the bleachers was affected. Some are still in critical care, so we're still gathering that information. From the video, it doesn't appear that there was any conversation or confrontation between the family before the incident happened. At this time, we have no indication that the suspect was living in Rhode Island. So the firearms were purchased legally, and we are investigating that with ATF, and we will release that when we have that information. But at this point, could you let me finish the answer, and then you can ask the next question. as soon as we get that information, we will release it.
Was there any security in the building, and do you think there should have been?
So as for sporting events, anything like that, if Lynch Arena felt like there was a need for it, they would have reached out. There was no indication that there was any type of violence that was going to happen at the event. Like I said, it was a high school hockey game for a co-op team, actually 2 co-op teams. So multiple jurisdictions were affected. There was no indication that there was going to be violence. This individual had gone to many hockey games in the past. There was no past experiences with violence at any of those hockey games. So there was no need for police presence at that time.
Can you tell us where the search warrants are being conducted?
Not at this time, no.
I have a question maybe for the superintendent. Is one of the victims, Mr. Jeruso, the same one that's working at Shea High School? Is that the connection there?
Do you want to?
So out of respect for the family, I'm not going to confirm that. But again, like I shared before, it has impacted our staff members. So I don't want to share that information at this present time. But thank you for the question.
For the chief, we've seen reports that the suspect had a license to carry at some point in Maine. Did he have a license to carry in Rhode Island? And what were the types of firearms that he had on him?
So what I can tell you for the 2 firearms we recovered a Glock 10mm, and we also recovered a SIG 226.
Those are handguns.
Yes, that's correct.
It appears that Robert made some comments on social media the day before about this is why trans people might go for cert. Are you investigating those comments?
So we have looked into social media postings. There were tens of thousands of postings. So it is going to take us hours to comb through those postings and see if there's anything that would have gave any insight into the incident that happened yesterday. At first glance, we don't see that. But again, there were several thousand postings that we're going to have to comb through. So that's why we've reached out. Anybody that sees anything on social media to obviously refer it to us. But again, there was tens of thousands of postings.
Chief, have you seen any link to any type of extremist groups?
Link with Robert? Not at this time.
Did he have a license to carry here in Rhode Island?
So again, we are confirming with ATF. He did have a license to carry out of Florida. So we are working to see if they had a license to carry anywhere else.
Could you speak to the specific impact on these specific communities impacted, like in Smithfield, and what their efforts are going to be going forward?
So, I mean, that's a question, obviously, for those individual communities. What I can tell you is with the co-op, there were several communities that were affected. Obviously, the incident happened here in Pawtucket. With Blackstone Valley, though, it was North Smithfield, it was North Providence, we had PCD, we had St. Raphael's, and then obviously we had Coventry, Johnston. So there were at least 6 communities that were affected, 7 communities, including Pawtucket. So there were, 6 communities, sorry, that were involved. And obviously, the resources we have, we're working with the Attorney General's office very closely. We also worked with Richter last night, who assisted us. Also, we've also been in contact with our other partners locally and state partners and our federal partners. And one thing that I can say is when a tragedy happens somewhere in Rhode Island, everybody responds. Everybody's been reaching out and trying to offer whatever type of assistance they can. We're in constant contact with the Attorney General's office. They're offering us that assistance when needed. And also what I can say is that during an event like that, it's very important that we come together. It's important that we respect these families and that we offer them the services that they so need. Anybody that was affected yesterday, we do have services set up at 175 Main Street. They can respond to 175 Main Street and there are services there, or they can be referred if they need other services. But we are offering services right in Pawtucket at 175 Main Street for those families that were affected on the site yesterday.
Chief, did the family give any indication of how they identified themselves? Was there some sort of transgender process happening?
So that really is kind of irrelevant to our investigation at this point. What I can tell you is the identification was in the name of Robert. And then we also know that the suspect went by the name Roberta. It appeared that the suspect was in female clothes yesterday. But again, that's nothing that had swayed the investigation one way or another. We're just trying to kind of factually put the pieces together and let that lead us on to obviously why this occurred yesterday. Everybody's looking for answers. The police department obviously is looking for answers too. We want to know why it happened, especially in our community. So that's what we're trying to do, trying to put together that timeline and answer those questions.
As far as the police investigation, what's pending?
Sorry, the chief of the family has said that Robert Dogan had mental health issues. Have you seen any history of that? Was there any treatment, any medication?
So we do not have medical records at this time. That's obviously an avenue that we'll pursue. But again, it has only been 24 hours. So these are questions that we're trying to answer. And again, we're working with a family that has suffered such a great tragedy. We're trying to, at the same time, respect some of their privacy and speak to them when it's appropriate too, right? Because this is one family that's been greatly affected. So we're trying to speak to them.
You shoot into a crowd of people and hit all of your targets. Is there any indication of professional firearms training?
So it was very targeted. Like I said, and you saw from some of the videos that were put out there, he did approach the family individually and he fired upon the family.
As far as the investigation, what else is pending at this point?
The investigation is still pending.
Still pending.
Yes. So
Is there anything specific?
we were going to take the leads as they come and we will follow through with them. Like I said, there's thousands of hours of social media that we have to comb through and other resources that we have to look at. And obviously we're talking to people. We talked to hundreds of people yesterday, right? Everybody that was in the rink, we used RIPTA buses to kind of reunite them with their families, because obviously when the shooting happened, people were either exiting through both means of egress at the building. There are multiple doors, so everybody was kind of scattering. We try to reunify them with their families and then bring them to the station. And then we spoke to them individually. We had services on scene yesterday to try to help them through that. Again, we weren't trying to re-traumatize them last night. We were just trying to get the facts, the story. So again, at some point, we're probably going to need to talk to them again. We talked to the people that intervened and assisted with succumbing the suspect. So again, those are people that we're going to follow up with.
Is there any plans to release any official video that's taken right next week throughout the incident?
So the police department would not be releasing video of the incident, the live stream that was up live stream through Lynch Arena through Live Barn. And again, unfortunately, that was a normal school event that they were live streaming it so that people could enjoy watching their kids play hockey, right? That was the point of it. It was not so that we could kind of put out this tragedy all over social media, right? So I ask that you respect the families that have to relive this. Every time somebody reposts that, these families are being re-traumatized. So I ask that you not do that. But again, the reason for the live stream was that families could actually enjoy their kids playing hockey.
Is Jordan known to police and that police gone to the house before for previous incidents?
So in Pawtucket, he is not known to police. There were some contacts throughout the state, but nothing that would indicate any type of violence.
He was certainly traveling throughout the country. Are there any indications, any law enforcement hits in Maine and Florida and other places where he lived?
Not that we had that would indicate any type of violence. We are still kind of working with our other partners throughout different states to see what information we can, because like you said, he did travel quite some distance, whether it be to, other states. So we are trying to gather all that information. But again, it has only been 24 hours. So we were focusing on Rhode Island to see what kind of information we hit here. And like I said, we are out with our FBI partners right now doing search warrants outside of the state.
Can you describe what you saw in the live stream? In the live stream, did the Good Samaritans tackle Dorgan?
So I can tell you that the Good Samaritan stepped in and they were able to overcome the suspect. And at that time, that's when he inflicted the self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Chief, could you tell us anything about his movements? He left a suicide note in any.
Not that we have found at this point.
Can you tell us anything about his movements prior to the shooting yesterday? Transit into Rhode Island yesterday or present in Rhode Island in the hours before?
So what I can tell you is that we are establishing a timeline of what led up to the incident. What I can tell you is that we do have the individual at the premises for quite some time before the event, which wasn't unusual. Again, like I said, the person had traveled to watch the son play hockey multiple times. So that wasn't unusual. Again, we said we saw him enter the building, exit, and then re-enter. So we're trying to put that timeline together. But again, it wasn't unusual for the person to respond and watch them play hockey.
Where was he living as of yesterday?
So that is what we are trying to confirm at this time, but not a Rhode Island resident.
Chief, apart from that there was some incidents, with some family members about 6 years ago. Has there been, as far as you know, any contact or any issues with family or anybody else since then?
I didn't say that. I'm sorry. I don't know where you got that from.
Well, I guess there are court records that he had some run-ins with family members and accused them of assaulting him, including the father-in-law.
Not here in Pawtucket.
Anything since then?
Not here in Pawtucket. So the incidents that I think you're referring to was he was a victim in another community, but nothing that I would say again would make us question whether or not he had any violent tendencies. So the report you're speaking to is, again, he was a victim.
Aside from the investigation, a lot of questions parents have is what kind of conversations are being had for future games. You know, games will be going on throughout the year. So is there a plan? Is that something different communities are thinking of right now, or in Kentucky even?
So in Pawtucket, we have a very strong community policing unit. Our community policing unit works very closely with the superintendent's office. We are in constant contact with them. We have individual SROs in our middle schools and in our high schools. We have our CPU offices that attend events. They attend it on their own time. They participate in them. Some of them have even volunteered, coached it in the past. So we are very actively involved in our events and in our youth events within the community here in Pawtucket. And again, the superintendent can attest to that. We have a very good working relationship with the superintendent, and we have a very large community policing unit that is very integrated within the schools.
And once the arena opens up again, there's going to be more stringent measures to ensure that there's no guns in the facility.
That'll be a conversation, yes.
Can you talk a minute, this is the second mass shooting in Rhode Island in 2 months, and that must be horrible to get that phone call as the police chief. Your job is to serve and protect. Can you just take a second and tell us how you're doing and what this is like for you, taking the game face off of the investigation, just as a person, as a parent, as a human being? People are reeling here.
So as a parent, obviously that hits very close to home. I have children that have participated in youth sports from a very young age. I've watched live stream. I've watched their sporting events, obviously during COVID for that period of time. So that does hit very close to home. As a police chief and a member of law enforcement, I think it's something that we respond to because it's what we're meant to do. It's part of our job. I think we kind of try to separate the two. We go in factually. We try to come to the bottom of what it is that happened. We try to put that information out. We try to bring justice to those families and some solace and some comfort to those families, right? So we're going to be in constant contact. Our detectives are here today as part of the interview, and obviously they're in constant contact with those families. It's kind of very hard to separate the two. It's kind of a job that I've been doing for almost 28 years. So I think at this point, you know, any phone call like this is horrific, and I don't want to receive it, and I hope I never receive another one. But I think we're trained to respond to calls of this nature. I know some of you asked yesterday, we had a training going on for an active shooter that was offsite as just part of our normal training to make sure the men and women of the police department know how to respond if we do have a tragedy. So those individuals that were there, they were on a training. When they heard the calls for service, they responded. I mean, that's what we do. If someone calls for help, we go.
We can take 2 more questions. Chief, do you think, did Dorgan say anything? I know there was no confrontation, but did they say anything about it?
So it's nothing on the video would indicate that there was any conversations. Again, the victims are in critical care, so it's hard to say. So any conversations will obviously follow up with them when they're able to speak to us. But as far as we know, there was not a conversation nor a confrontation between the family and Dorgan right before the incident.
Do you think it was planned?
Again, we're trying to establish motive. I don't know.
Thank you, Chief.
You good? Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Gonzalez. Oh, wait. Thank you, everybody. All the best.
Welcome to a brand new hour of America Reports. I'm John Roberts. Thank you for filling in this week.
You are most welcome, John. The bill will come later in the week, so look out for that in the mail. It's great to be with you.
The check will be in the mail.
No, thank you. I look forward to receiving it. I'm Jillian Turner in for Sandra today. So this interview now with all these breaking developments come as The sheriff has also been saying that the entire Guthrie family is cleared from this investigation. They are not suspects. We're also getting new details on investigators working directly with Walmart, trying to trace the exact items that the suspect was seen wearing on camera. Let's get straight to Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt now, who just sat down with the sheriff for this exclusive interview. Jonathan, lay it out for us. What did you learn?
A lot of breaking news out of this interview, Gillian and John. The sheriff had just come from the latest briefing on this investigation. And I asked him, first of all, about the glove that we've all heard about, the glove that on which they had found DNA, which was being tested and was going to then be entered into the FBI's CODIS system, which is the national tracking system for DNA that they might have from people who have committed crimes in the past. His answer to that, not good news for the investigation. Listen here to the sheriff.
The DNA on the glove that was found 2 miles away was submitted for CODIS, and I just heard that CODIS had no hits.
No hits on
Right.
the DNA found in the glove.
Correct.
So you are no closer to a suspect as a result of the DNA test, at least.
As a result of CODIS.
Now, remember also, we broke the news last Friday that they had tested also DNA that was found inside Nancy Guthrie's house that they believed was stranger DNA. Well, the sheriff also told us no CODIS hit on that DNA either. Then I talked to him about this reporting that has been out there, not repeated by us, that this was a burglary gone wrong. The sheriff said it was not. Listen again to the sheriff.
You just said you believe it's a kidnapping.
I believe it was a kidnapping.
Targeted kidnapping.
Yes, I believe whoever did that knew what they were up to.
So do you believe
knew who they were after?
So we also talked to the sheriff about these reports of the FBI going to gun stores. They have indeed been going to gun stores, but there was a report out there that they had narrowed it down essentially to 40 suspects they were asking about and showing pictures of. Here's the sheriff's response to that.
Tell me this if you can, Sheriff. Is everybody in Tucson still a suspect, or have you narrowed it down to, say, a few dozen people? We've heard, for instance, the FBI is asking about 40 people at gun stores.
That's not true.
Okay, so have you narrowed it down to a few dozen, or are we
We haven't narrowed it down to anything other than we have certain pieces of evidence that we're looking at to try to find this individual, whether it be DNA, whether it be that ring camera video, whether it be evidence at a Walmart that might lead us to somebody.
Couple of other important points from this wide-ranging interview, John and Gillian. I asked the sheriff if there are any indications at all that Nancy Guthrie may have been taken across the border into Mexico, just about 65 miles or so south of us here. He said no indications of that. He said he believes the FBI has been checking that, but no indications of that at this point. And I followed up with him on the news that he put out a statement about yesterday, the clearing the Guthrie family, their siblings and spouses. He said to me, 100% they are victims, not connected. So a lot of news, but the bad news in terms of the investigation, that DNA, neither the DNA in the house or the DNA on the glove coming back with a hit on the FBI's national database. I hate to use the phrase back to square one, John and Gillian, but if we are talking about the squares that have been moved forward, we're certainly in the low single digits in terms of this investigation. John and Gillian?
I mean, it's also got to be pretty disappointing, for lack of a better word, for the family watching this to hear him say they haven't narrowed down the search to anybody, meaning no suspects right now.
Extraordinary, Gillian. When you talk to him, and you can feel the frustration in the sheriff. Obviously, he has come in for some criticism from some quarters. But I will say now, having got to know him a little bit over the last 16 days that we've been here, he is a man who wants to solve this crime, quite obviously. He has decades in law enforcement. There's Monday morning quarterbacking going on. Maybe some mistakes have been made. That's not for me to say. But this is a man who has a lot of compassion for the Guthrie family, really wants, just like every single law enforcement official on the ground here, they want to solve this case. But clearly, they are very frustrated, and clearly they are struggling to find out where Nancy Guthrie is and who took her.
So, Jonathan, here's something that a lot of folks I talk to are trying to wrap their head around. If this was not a robbery gone bad, if it was a kidnapping, but this idea that the ransom notes was a dead end, and we're not hearing anything from kidnappers. I mean, the object of kidnapping is you get something for the person that you've kidnapped. So what's this all about?
Well, that's an open question, John, and a very good question. I asked the sheriff about the ransom notes, and he said that is mainly an investigative lead for the FBI. Clearly, the ransom notes have not been ruled inauthentic or entirely authentic at this point. But the sheriff was quite adamant, not a burglary. I did ask him about, was anything taken at all? He said he couldn't talk about that. I asked him again about the forced entry or no forced entry. He wouldn't talk about that. And he said quite plainly, there are things we are not going to tell you because they are so germane to this investigation that they could compromise this investigation if we tell you. And as we've said throughout, John, they have every right to keep whatever information they want from us. But clearly, yeah, it's a struggle. But equally clearly, the sheriff believes in his gut. And I asked him his gut as a decades-long law enforcement officer what he thinks this is. And he said, I believe it is a kidnapping, not a burglary gone wrong.
All right. Well, we'll see if we ever hear from the kidnappers. Jonathan Hunt for us with the latest. Jonathan, thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube